Hey, are you an aspiring actor? Are you just starting off? I'm sure you have a lot of questions about this crazy world. My friend certainly does because he is now entering the acting world. He joins me on the podcast and asks me the questions. I answer them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in as we go beyond the take. What is up, everyone? It is me, actor, producer, and host of the show. My name is Marc Chouen, and I am joined today by my dear friend, my former co-host, I guess. I don't know. He still makes his appearances. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Michael J. Putty. What's up, my man?
This is my second one since you fired me. So I don't make appearances here and there. I get tagged in when you need one. It's fine.
You're such a good friend.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
try my best.
Hey, you don't try, you do, and I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. You're a good man,
You-
Marcus Davenport Chuan.
So recently, I just got an email from my agent, multi talent agency. They closed up shop, so I no longer have an agent. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was just like, whoa, what? I've heard about agencies closing up shop and whatnot, and my heart always went out to the actors that that suffered that fate. Um, and I guess considering the state of the industry and how things have been, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. But yeah, it was a real blow. It was, and of course, I recommended so many people to this agency, and then I had friends hitting me up, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, oh man. And then immediately afterwards, I had to go into a meeting because I'm producing a film. So I had to go to a producer meeting about that. So, um, so yeah, no, it's a whirlwind of emotions about it, and but you keep on going. It's not like they were my only representation. I do have a manager still. I do have an agent commercially. Now it's back to the drawing board as far as finding a new talent rep.
Did I give you any heads up notice, or did they just tell you we're closing or we're closed?
Y- Yeah, I think I have to double check the email, but I think they're going to be open, I guess, until next month, something like that. I don't know, but it doesn't really make a difference. They did send me like a nice email because I emailed them right after that, thanking them, of course, showing my gratitude for, they've been with me since what, 2018 or something like that. Um, so, I just want to express my gratitude, what they've done for me, et cetera, et cetera. And they sent me a very nice email back, but they also recommended me to a few different agents. So checking into them and we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed.
Is it like sales, where like if your agent goes to a different company, you can go with him? Like he can bring you on board with his new company?
Well, it's not even like that. I mean, it was a little boutique agency. It's not like I was with like CAA or something like that. That could happen. Yeah, it's something like bigger level. But boutique, I mean, it was just, it was just him and his wife that was running the show. They just closed up shop. So not in
Hmm,
this case scenario because they're not going anywhere, it looks like.
gotcha. And it's boutique.
Boutique. What am I saying? Boutique?
Yeah.
Boutique. You think with me having a master's, I would know that? Whatever.
Learned my lesson a long time ago.
Let's say it again. What is it? Boutique.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Boom. Nailed it. Nailed it. Maybe I could just take that, insert it in the areas where I got it wrong so I don't look like an idiot.
Overdub. Yeah.
Yeah. Redub it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I could do.
We did
Dubbing.
that one time. We did a
What?
wrestling show and we didn't have the audio, so we had to dub over ourselves. That's not easy.
Was that BWF?
Yeah, long time ago, years ago. For some reason, they never got the audio to a certain section at the beginning, and we had to redub the video.
Oh my God, I
We had to watch the
vaguely remember
video.
this.
We had to realize what we were saying. It took us like 2 hours. I think I'm exaggerating, but yeah. So dubbing's not a. It gave you a whole new respect for that. It's like, oof.
Oh,
Took us
dubbing's a
forever.
bitch, man.
Yeah.
Like I do ADR for a short film, a couple of short films actually. One of which was like a huge ass monologue because we shot it outside at a graveyard but it was like by one of the airports. So it was like a long, no joke, like a 5 page monologue. And every so often you'd hear the plane, and at certain points, like we'd pause, we try our best, right? But eventually, we're just like we just have to plug along and just save it in post. And that's what I did. I had to like go through ADR through like a whole 5 page monologue. That was a bitch. That was a lot.
Sounds like it. I'm
Oh yeah.
having trouble doing a couple of sentences. I can't imagine doing a whole monologue.
Oh yeah. Thankfully, thankfully I did well with it. Like I remember watching it back, you could hardly tell that it was that actually you can't even tell if like you didn't know any better. Like I knew, of course, but like I think if anyone watched it with fresh eyes, they wouldn't be able to tell. So that's
And
good.
boutique and boutique are the same mouth movements, so no one could tell. Just edit this whole thing out.
Exactly.
I'm the
Exactly.
wiser.
All right. Right. So, Putty, obviously, beyond the take here, we're talking about the entertainment industry. And, I know that you've always been intrigued by industry. I imagine you might have some questions.
Especially now that I'm on the verge of being in the business myself.
Yes. Yes, you
Whole new
are. And I
perspective.
love everything about it.
See how that goes. Yeah,
How you join the classes? Hey, for those that don't know, by the way, so Michael J. Putty,
is everybody.
I, yeah. So I I recommend him to a voiceover class, because he was interested in like, learning that world. Little did I know that it was going to be very, very intense. Like it was teaching like what? Like, tell me a little bit more about it.
It's not even voiceover work anymore. Apparently, that's not the current nomenclature. It's voice acting. She's
Oh,
teaching
excuse me.
acting. Like here I am just thinking how to speak, maybe slow down, how to breathe. No, she wants me to get really involved and connected, and she's teaching me acting, not voiceover work. So
I
I'm
love that.
becoming a voice actor, not a voiceover artist.
I can't wait for someone to like go to you and just like, oh, you're a voice actor. Can you act for me right now? Can you do something? It's like the worst thing.
I'm not looking forward to it. No. So during this class, she'll give me little clips or copy to read, and I'll do it. And then she says, maybe try this way or try this. You're on a stream floating down a casual lazy river. How would you talk when you're doing that? The same exact way. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know how to take these instructions from you. I don't know what I'm doing here. I just wanted to talk and read words on the page.
Talk? Did you just say talk?
Yeah, it's New York of me.
Oh, come on now. Was
I'm
that on
in
purpose, or was that
I'm
just
in New
like a happy
York.
accident?
If I put New York actor on my voice resume, people in the Midwest love it. It gives me more notices or something like that.
Interesting. Well, that does make sense. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like
Yeah,
you don't really have a New York accent, though.
you wouldn't hear it. I'm sure people from the Midwest will hear it. I don't hear it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely hear people who have like New York accents, or even especially Long Island accents. That's thick. Um, but no, I don't really sense one in you. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just used to it. Who knows?
Maybe. So it's been a process. After this, tomorrow I have a 6 hour master class
Ooh.
being taught by, I forgot this woman's name. I'm like, okay, 6 hours of my day. I have no clue what to expect, but
What's
part of
the
the
master
process.
class focused on?
Voice acting.
Just voice acting. Okay,
So
cool.
here
Let
I'm
me know
thinking
how it goes.
here I'm thinking I'll do commercials. Maybe my voice could be on, infomercials.
Mhm.
But hey, if I'm voice acting, maybe I could be on the episode of South Park one day. You never know.
You never know. You
Here I
have
am.
a good voice, buddy. You have a good voice.
Yeah, just got to slow it down, talk
Yes.
too fast. So
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to learn now to do.
Things I feel like I've been telling you for a little bit now.
Of course, it's all about you. Oh my
It
God.
it is all about me. Thank you. Welcome to my show.
Yeah, no problem. And it's not easy to do. And when I'm thinking I'm going slow, I'm still going fast. And that's basically the New York in me. So
That was always my biggest issue, actually, with when I first started acting. Sometimes it still happens, especially when I'm doing like something live, like live theater, you need to slow it down and you need to really enunciate and like make sure your voice carries to the last throw. Um, all things keep on it while staying in character, while memorizing your lines, while reacting off the other person. Um, yeah, it's not easy, especially if you're so used to talking so fast. And like
Yep.
even if yeah, you're right. Like even if you think you're slowing it down, you're still talking relatively fast.
So I'm slowing it down. They're telling me to slow down. I try to slow down. I'm like, oh, I'm nailing. This is good. She goes, how do you think it went? I'm like, not too bad. She goes, no, it's choppy.
Oh, are
Like,
you overthinking it?
blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
Oh, okay. So you're going the other end of it now.
Yeah. So let's trying to get in the middle. Last class, I did much better.
Good.
We'll see how it goes. I'm almost there.
Good.
I have three more classes left, then the master class, and then I'd record my demos, and then it's on to the world of auditions.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, I'm so pumped for you.
I think it's one of us. Well, let me ask you, how do you handle rejection then? Because it's going to be constant rejection. How
Yeah.
do you handle it? As an actor, not you personally, but as an actor, how do you handle the constant rejection?
You learn not to take it personally. Like I remember when I first got the acting bug, I was in high school and I was getting great roles. I was getting the leads pretty early. I was like a high school rock star when it came to theater. And then you hit the real world. I remember my first rejection was like I forgot some sort of like I auditioned somewhere in LIC and I forgot what happened, whatever. But like I remember like, wait, I didn't hear anything back? That's weird. I don't know. I didn't like that feeling at all. It's just like it threw me off. But then it's interesting. Then like I remember when I got into the world like really professionally, right? Like the first year I stepped into it, man, I was right off the gate. Like I was auditioning and I was getting a lot of roles. I was booking like crazy. It got to the point where they were contacting me for certain commercials or it was ID Discovery because I was non-union and I made a lot of good connections. So it's great, but it was like when I became SAG, that's when it really shifted, where I wasn't booking as much. And like, yeah, like, of course you can't if you don't book so often. If you go from like booking all the time to like not booking, you can't help it like think like, oh my God, what's going on here? Blah blah blah. But you have to think of like this. You have to think of like the small wins, right? When you're auditioning for SAG projects, right? Especially like, for network roles, for Netflix stuff as well. Like, it's a higher tier, right? And if you're being called in multiple times by the same casting director, you're doing something right. You don't suck. It just the role didn't fit for you at that point. Or sometimes there might be games where they play where, oh, I really like him. Do I really want to waste him on like a one-liner where when I have something else for that person? There's stuff like that. Or there's a lot of stuff that's outside of your control. It's not even necessarily about your talent, where it's just like, oh, that person's too tall, too short. I don't think they'll mesh well with the other actor, or blah blah blah. It could be anything outside of your control. So then you learn not to take it personal. You just carry on because there's always going to be the next audition, right? So any audition I get, I look at it as just another opportunity to act, right? I view it as if that part is mine for right now. So I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to act like, you know, it's my day one on set. And then that's it. I do the part, do the best I can, and then I move on.
Interesting. So I feel like that'd be the hardest part for me. I don't do rejection well, as you know. So the whole point of not taking it personally, I think it's the hardest part to learn.
You just have to learn that like there's just so many factors outside of your control, right? So the what can you control then? right? You control doing the best possible job you can so that your talent and your ability is not what's disqualifying you from getting the role. It's everything else, right? Like you can't control everything else. Control what you can control. Give a good impression. Now, if you start seeing that same casting director calling you back, you know you're doing your job then. You know you're doing your job well.
I've grown up listening to announcers, listening to commercials, and that's what I thought I would be doing. Hey, coming up next, or now available at Burger King. Apparently, announcing is dead. They want you to read it and make connection with the copy. Read it,
Yeah.
read it as if you're having a
Yeah.
conversation with yourself. That's my problem. I'm a hard time connecting the copy. Like if she gives me a monologue from like Yellowstone and gives me the backstory of the character, what's going on in the scene, I can do it, no problem. Making that personal connection, really enveloping a character and selling, you know, Bud Light or selling a burger in 2 sentences, that's my current problem. How to make that connection. Have you had that problem? Or is it just easy for you because you've been doing it for so long?
No, I mean like there are certain roles that you can get sometimes to audition for where, some will hit right away, right? Like when I auditioned for Law and Order, when I got that part for it, there was something different about it. I remember when I read it, it was like, oh man, I really can connect with this character. I get this character, right? And I don't know why I just had this feeling I'm gonna get this. Now, how often does that happen? Not a whole lot. You're gonna get a good chunk of things where you're not going to connect with, or you're gonna have a more difficult time connecting with. But you just have to find that way somehow. Um, you know, I always prided myself ever since like man, like as far as back as I can remember, that I have this ability where I can put myself in the other person's shoes, right? To like view the world from their lens and from what they're going through at that point in time when people are talking to me about the problems that they're going through. I I feel that, right? And so that's why I try to look at the character, especially if I have a hard time connecting. I try to look at it from that lens. It's like, well, I know this person. I might not be this person, but I know someone who is. I know someone who has gone through that. And if I don't know directly that person, then I try to think back of like, what have I watched? Where can I get inspiration from something I've watched on TV or from social media or something? You always try to find some sort of connection. Sometimes it's harder than others. Sometimes you can find that direct correlation, and then that's I mean that's the best thing possible. But sometimes you do have to work for it.
Very famous acting coach Stella Adler has this quote: if you don't make choices, it's just words on a page. How do you go about making choices when you're reading a copy for a role? Do you base it on what the actor or director, I should say the director, is telling you? How do you make up qualities of the character on your own? How do you go about developing a character when they're just words on a page?
Talking about for like when you're on set, or are you talking from like from an audition standpoint? Two different
Yes,
things.
both. All right, both.
So, all right, going back to Law and Order, that's the best recent example I can give. You know, you definitely because with the audition, you have the sides, right? You don't have the full script. You have like the scene, and the actors access the breakdown of the character in the show, right? So you pull from that. You try. I know like, there are people that say like make bold choices, make bold choices. Like when you think you have to zig, you should probably zag, right? And like that's a lot of thinking, right? I try to approach it, and I know actors are going to probably disagree with me, but that's fine because everyone has their own technique and their own way. But how I try to approach it is like, all right, well, what would I do? In this given situation. Like, all right, like if this person is going through this and this is going on in the scene, this is what happened to them. All right, well, I try to live it, like really feel it instead of like overthinking. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this because like, that's the opposite of what they're probably looking for. You have to stop thinking what they're looking for because chances are they don't know what they're looking for yet. You don't psych yourself out with this guessing game with what the other actors are doing. You make your choice and you stick with it, right? Don't overthink it. Just let it happen. Just get into that shell of the character and just be. Let it go, let it rip. And then, of course, yeah. So you have your own ideas and how to go about it. But then, when you're on set after you book it, I did ask the director. I'm like, oh well. First off, before I even get to that, so for the callback, the director did give some notes to like play it like less defensive. I think it was right. So I did. I listened to the note, and that's when I got the part right. Sometimes directors they'll give you a note just to see if you can take a note, or a casting director will do that as well because that's so important about acting. It's just like, hey, we're going to play it some different ways. Can you take direction? When you have so many people on a set, and you're dealing with time constraints, or you're dealing with like, you're battling with like, light. You're filming outside. You only have a certain amount of time, right? Like, you want to make sure I can give you a note, you can do it, and we can do this, right? Instead of like, struggling with it. So that's important. So on the day when I met the director, I asked him like, "Hey, question was that note you gave, was it just to see if I could take the note, or is this how you really want it?" So he told me that's how he really wants it. We're gonna try a few different things. We're gonna raise the temperature. We're gonna lower the temperature. He threw a lot at me. He told me he's gonna ride me, and he did. He rode me hard, and it was great. I loved it. He was so good, and he was so generous of like, what this the screen time they gave me. But like, yeah, you listen to the director. You have your own ideas, but you listen to the director, you go with it. Sometimes you may have your own ideas you throw in there, like, there's a part that wasn't in the script, talked about, taking the card from the jacket. Say, hey, we're dealing with detectives here. Should I ask kind of almost like kind of permission? Can I go to the jacket? Yeah. All right, cool, awesome. Like, it's a collaborative unit, which is cool. Like, it goes back to like my indie roots, But to see that, like, you almost kind of forget you're in Law and Order, and like, we're working a collaborative effort because you have this idea, you go into this like this big machine, and no, this is how it is. But no, they were cool. It was loose.
She also made a quote that Ron Howard said, he's always, when he's making a good movie, he's always waiting for the actor to do something unexpected. It's like, so they're given the scene, they're given a character and scripts and words to say, but sometimes they'll let the actors, give a scene that's loose, or an actor will do something that he, as a director, the world famous Ron Howard, wasn't expecting, and it makes the scene even better. At what point do you get comfortable of being loose with the words, or being loose with your character, being able to do this, like you said, with the whole card and the jacket thing?
Yeah.
Do you usually have to follow, especially as a guest star that you were, do you have to do what the director says and follow the copy, or is there a point where you can be more comfortable and be, I don't say ad lib or improv, but do what you feel comfortable from a different point of view?
You feel it out. Like there are definitely writers where you don't. It's like well known you don't fuck around with a script, right? Like there are certain directors like that, and they've earned that right. It's weird when you hear like some like no name directors doing that or no name writers doing that. That gets a little weird, especially when the writing doesn't necessarily dictate like they're Aaron Sorkin level. um, but you feel it out. Like I feel like in cases like that too, if you're really feeling something, right? Especially if the director gives you that freedom to do it, 'cause they'll let you know too. Hey, let's for this take, let's let it rip. Let's have fun with it. Their directors they'll do that, and you just let it rip, man. If you're feeling something in the moment that the character would do, right? like you do it. You shouldn't be thinking too much about like, oh, should the director? I don't know, like because then you're not fully in the moment. If you're thinking so much about like what the director's saying, if you're feeling it, if you're really in the moment, you're just gonna fucking do it, right? And then after the take is a cut, um, it's either gonna be Mark, that was fantastic, that was awesome, love that. Let's do that for the next take for a turnaround or whatever, blah blah blah. Or it's gonna be like, yeah, let's lose that. So it's gonna be one of the two things.
We had a conversation on our old podcast, and even at shows, hanging out in my here or hanging out at BCW. I think I always made a joke that you're an actor, you play pretend for a living. That's basically what you do. You play pretend for a living.
Hmm.
That's going into this whole voice thing. Remember, I think I'm being a voice over artist, not a voice actor. She hit me with this quote from legendary acting coach Sanford Meisner. Acting is behaving truthfully in imaginary situations.
Imaginary circumstances.
Yeah, sorry. Well, just one of those I was today years old moments when I never thought about acting from that point of view.
Hmm.
How do you interpret that? How do you interpret that quote as an actor?
Oh, great question. Um, I mean, it's true. I mean, and it's also true in what you're saying too. Like you are pretending. Like I want my biggest thing is like I always hated, and I still hate to this day. It's like, oh, you're an actor, so you must be a really good liar because
Hmm.
you lie. No, I don't lie. I don't lie at all. Like I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers lie. Um, I pretend. So that means, what does that mean in pretending, right? What's the difference? I believe what is happening to be true. So, in a sense, like what Meisner said, you're living truthfully under these imaginary circumstances. And that's 100% true. That's what you're doing. You're obviously, if I'm in a Jurassic Park movie, a dinosaur is not really coming after me. But in this world that I'm living in, yes, that's happening, and I have to react like how I would if a fucking T-Rex is coming after me, right? Like it's just as simple as that.
What do you think is the most important skills for an actor in today's industry?
The skills today,
I feel like the industry is always evolving.
yeah.
Maybe second question: how has the industry changed since you started?
Oh man. So I've been at this. I realized before in my last interview with Jaime that I'm in my 11th year of doing this professionally. It's changed a bit, quite a bit. It's man, I can't believe I feel like I'm sounding like a vet now. Um, yeah, like gone are the days, and I hear it's kind of coming back in LA. I haven't seen it so much in New York yet, where it's just all self tapes now. So what does that mean? There's no more going to the room auditioning. You're not getting notes. You're not getting feedback. You have a studio set up on yourself here and you get to do as many takes as you can. There's no more of that pressure of like, you have that one take and maybe they give you a second, or maybe they even give you a third. Um, and you really have to nail it at that point. There's like that pressure, you know. Um, but there's also something that you kind of lose that magic if you're doing like a 30 takes trying to, chase perfection. There's something to be said about that. But then there's also, man, like, streaming has really kind of killed the industry a bit. We had that golden era of TV with Netflix when they were pretty much taking on anything and everything, which led to Amazon doing the same, which led to the rise of Apple Plus, Peacock, and Disney Plus, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like, when the pandemic happened, like everything just kind of scaled back. Now you have mergers happening. Well, first you had the strikes that happened, and then you have the mergers happening, and like, it's shrinking back. So now there's less work. And it's the competition's fierce. And then also going back to the self-tapes, everything's globalized now. You have other countries that are offering these really attractive tax incentives. You have other states offering tax incentives. So it's no longer, LA, New York, and Atlanta. You have other states doing the same thing, but United States, we don't have a tax incentive in the federal level, so the other countries are looking more attractive. So we have that, and with self tapes, you don't necessarily have to live in New York or LA anymore. Like you can self tape anywhere. So it's a lot more competition for a lot less work. So the industry's changed in a lot of different ways.
That's one thing I also didn't think of. I had an introductory webinar before I started taking my classes, and the gentleman hosting it is a very popular, very famous voice actor. Again, I was thinking voice over. No, he's a voice actor. And he's telling me he just got a check for a commercial he did somewhere in Europe. I forgot what country it is offhand. He signed a 6 month contract. At the end of the 6 month, they renewed it. So he's there for another 6 months. I feel
Mhm.
if like for voice actors, it's easier because I could just do it here in my living room on my couch.
Right.
How is it
Right.
when
Like,
you, if you get a self tape for a role somewhere in Spain and you get it, you have to go over to Spain. Is that something you have to think about too when you're doing these self tapes in other countries?
well, I haven't had the opportunity to do that, because here's the thing, like, so especially with film, right? The decisions are pretty much made already in LA. So by the time it gets to like New York, New Jersey, or wherever, right? Most of the casting is already done, right? You may have some smaller roles or whatever, and they'll cast like locally for that. So there's something you have to be a local hire, right? So that's typically like, I'm not a movie star, right? So that's typically stuff that like, I would probably see. Now in Spain, it's interesting you bring that one up. Like, they most likely will be casting like, a big name here and there, right? They fill out those main roles, and then like the more local stuff, they'll hire those local actors because guess what? There's no union involved, so it's cheaper. So like I'm not at this stage of my game, I'm not being called in for that yet, but not right now. No, there was to give you a more realistic example, and this is a great story about like my wife actually. I do remember having an audition for it was a new lead for I forgot which soap it was. It was a soap opera. Ah, shit, I forgot the name of it. Doesn't matter. Anywho, it was filming in LA, right? So, I accepted the audition, and my manager is just like, "Oh, by the way, you know this film's in LA, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, but it's fine. If I get the part, like, I just go back and forth, no big deal, like in between seasons." I was like, "What?" Because no, Mark, it's a soap opera. There are no seasons.
True.
I did not know that. Like, I never watched a soap really before like that before, and I double checked it. I was like, "Holy shit, he's right. There are no seasons." Fuck, I accepted the audition. I have to do it. So my wife was reading for me, and she did such a good job. She's such an awesome reader. She actually read for me for Law and Order, helped me get the part. I feel like in another life she could have been a casting director, but she was really working with me for this role, and I looked at her at one point in between. And I was just like, because there were multiple scenes. I was like, hey, if I get this, I have to move to LA. You know that, right? Because I explained it to her. She's like, well, we'll make it work. And I know how she feels about like, leaving to the West Coast and all that. And I was like, whoa, she's a real one. Like we weren't married yet. We weren't even engaged yet. But like that was when I was really like, oh man, like she's in this. Like that was a big deal. Like I didn't get the part. Actually, no one got the part. That role wound up not being
Oh,
being used. But it was definitely a memorable audition because of that. It really was like that she's the one. It was without a shadow of doubt, this girl's the one. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, to answer that question, you do have to deal with that. It's just like, okay, if I get this, that means I have to go there for X, Y, Z amount of time or move.
you have your favorite athlete, right?
Yeah.
Sports stars. they take they have heroes, other athletes, people they look up to, people that they can take inspiration from. Musicians have other musicians they look up to as heroes and take inspiration from. We just mentioned it. You're reading words on a page and interpreting them, playing pretend in imaginary situations. What do you see in other actors that make them your hero? Like George Clooney, for example. What does he do to make him somebody's hero?
Wow,
That
great
makes sense.
question. No, it does. Yeah, I look at my heroes
Thank you.
and they you know, they're fearless, the heroes that I look at. You know,
Like,
I look at Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, that man just completely loses himself into a role. When I tried doing that, I successfully did that, and it took me like no joke a year to find myself back again.
mhm.
And it was scary. But that's what he does, and it's no wonder. Like he only you look at his IMDb, it's not that long, but he's considered probably one of the greatest actors ever to do it. You look at Gary Oldman, similar. Michael Shannon, similar. I look at the. It's going to sound crazy. I put all these actors now. I'm going to say The Rock. The Rock I look at differently as an idol just because of his work ethic. You know, he's relentless. Whatever he sets his eyes on, he accomplishes. And you see him what he did with the Smashing Machine and the roles that he's doing there for after. He's entering that fearless category as an actor. But like I feel like he's been fearless in life, which I admire. So I think that's the one quality I see with like the idols that I have in this industry, where like, the common thread is they're fearless.
What advice would you give up and coming new actors entering into this cutthroat world of acting?
What advice would I give? Be strong, you know, up here. Don't compare yourself to others, especially on social media. You know, that world is fake. Everyone's posting the highlight reels, but they're not showing you like, their bills. They're not showing you, the struggles. They're not showing you, anything else. Find your circle. Find the people that are like-minded like you that not necessarily like, oh my God, they're doing better than me, but like, they like to do stuff. They like to create. They're doers. They don't just talk a big game, but that you also genuinely like that you can call a friend. That's a big deal. If that circle's small, then so be it. It'll eventually grow. Treat it like a business. I had a mentor when I first started off in this. That was his motto, and honestly, it was one of the truest things, and it's probably given me the longevity I have today. Is to treat it like a business. You know, you are the product. So what do you have to do? As a business person, you do have to create a business plan. You have to learn how to market yourself. Have to learn how to budget. You have to learn how to manage your time. You have to learn how to manage people. To form relationships. You have to go out and network. You have to do all these different things for your business. You as an actor to survive. So to have that mindset. I find myself having both those switches on at the same time, as a creative and as a business person. If you were just to have just the artist's mind, you're going to fizzle out. I hate to say it because it's not just art. This is a business. And if you don't respect it as so, you're in for a rough ride.
You hear a lot about actors who tried to make it in the industry and gave up. It wasn't working out for them. They got chewed up and spat out, or just nothing came of it. Then you hear of actors like John Krasinski, who was about to walk away. This isn't for me. Nothing's working out. Boom, got one last role at The Office. How thin is the line between this industry's not for me or let me keep going to the next role?
It happens all the time.
You know
It
when
happens
to walk away, or is there such a moment of you should just always continue?
like what is the line? Is
How
that what
thin
you're
is
really
that
asking?
line? How thin is the line
It's
between
so
just
thin.
wanting to give up and let me try one more time?
It's so thin. It's like razor thin. Like, there are definitely times when I wanted to walk away, where I feel like I should walk away. But then, it's like I'm like very stubborn. And I know my family members are going to just keep this clip going on and on and on again when I say I'm not stubborn, but I just admitted it right now. So there you go. You're welcome. But then B, I just love it so fucking much. I love it so much. Like this is just what I want to do with my life, man. Like I just want to fucking act. Um, it's my first love. You know, I can't imagine doing anything else. Like there was definitely a point. It's crazy. I hate referencing this over and over again, but it was like the last big gig, so it's fresh. So before Law and Order, before I got the call for the audition from my manager, I was brainstorming with my manager on the phone about, hey, like, are you sending me out for even indies right now? Because like, it was slow. Like last year was the lowest amount of auditions I ever had in my career, like ever, even including the pandemic. So it's like, are you submitting for indies? Because I know at one point you said you probably not because A, you don't know the casting director, and B, it's not that much money, but like I just want to go out for stuff. And he told me, Mark, I am. It's just like, the industry is just the way it is right now. Everyone's leveling down, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, it's not a whole lot of work. So I was just like, fuck. And I remember I called my mom immediately afterwards, just kind of just like, I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. Is this just it? Do I quit? Or do I become FICOR? Do I leave SAG? Like I just want to act at the end of the day. Um, it was just like I was kind of going off the deep end a little bit. Like I couldn't help myself. And then no joke, I shit you not, buddy. My manager calls me back. I'm like, oh mom, hold on a second. Bob's calling. I pick it up. He's like, Mark, you're not gonna believe this, man. I got you an audition for Law and Order. Hey, while we are talking, that email came in. It's like, fucking A, let's go. And crazy enough, only a few days before that, I was talking Jaime, who my previous guest. We had a long ass conversation, and he was asking me, he's like, "Oh, like, but because have you ever done Law and Order?" I said, "No, like, honestly, that's been on my bucket list because you're not considered a real New York actor unless you've done Law and Order, and like that's my bucket list, man. I always want to do it." Because I mean, don't worry about it, you got time. Because I didn't do it until like I was my early 40s. All right, cool. And then boom, like a couple days later, I get the audition, and then I book it.
And you did a great job.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. That really means the world for me, coming from you.
Well, tough egg to crack.
But like, so it goes to answer your question. So it's razor thin, man. It really is razor thin. Like, and you just don't know. It was my John Krasinski moment, I think. You
Hmm.
know, and I couldn't help but think about that because I no joke, man. I was spiraling so bad after that conversation. Just like, what's my next move? What do I do? You know, and the universe answered.
Big time. Especially with that character in Law and Order who killed his wife. There's so much backstory for that character. It's yet to be
he,
tapped.
he he didn't kill his wife. Like, that did not
Or
happen.
paralyzed. I'm sorry, paralyzed. Going back to what we mentioned earlier, I wanted to ask you this, but we got off topic. How do you approach character development? You're given a role, given a backstory. How do you personally approach developing into this character? What goes
Hmm.
into character development more? I should ask.
I feel like, for me, every character is so different in how I approach it. Like, if it's like, for example, if it's a co-star, right? Like, I'm not putting a whole bunch of backstory into like, would you like some coffee, sir? I'm not doing that. I just approach it as me pretty much. Um, it really depends. Like, if there's like there's some where you have to do more work than others, I feel like, as far as like character character work. Like for example, if you're playing a real person, right? You really want to do your homework on that, and, like who this person was, what their relationships were, like it's just like the psyche of the person, how they talked, how they walked. Like you really want to do a deep dive in a person because you want to do that person justice, right? But then like if you're playing like a real character just so far away different from you, you know, uh, you do your homework on that. Like I remember I did a play where I played a sociopath, and
Stretch.
it was just such it was a great I fucking loved the role. But I remember having a hard time with it because it's just like during rehearsal process, I was just trying to find it, and it just like nothing I felt like was really working the way I wanted it to. And I was just watching, what was I watching? Oh, I was watching, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Heroes. I don't know if you remember that one from
Yeah, I know, I remember,
NBC.
but I never got into it.
But there was a villain on there, Siler, I think his name was. And then I remember I watched Dark Knight. It was like back to back. I watched that with the Joker and Heath Ledger, and I figured it out. I was like, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. Like my character, he's a sociopath. He doesn't like he just does. He goes. He's like the lion. He's like a puppy chasing cars. He wouldn't know what to do if he had it, if he got it. And that's how I approached it. Once I had that aha moment, that's how I went into it, and it was fucking gold. It just opened the whole door. It was like so much freedom. It was amazing. But yeah, I mean, like it's different for each role, man.
Talked about in the first episode of the show, you swore, you think that The Rock was going to be the first wrestler nominated for an Academy Award. Do you think he got snubbed?
Oh man, well, it's hard to say because I haven't watched the performances yet. I have the SAG screeners. I just watched Song Sung Blue recently with Kate Hudson. Amazing, amazing. She definitely deserved an award for that. I kind of feel like Hugh Jackman does deserve a nomination as well, but I so far I've only seen The Rock from the nominees yet, so it's not fair for me to say if he was snubbed or not.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
he did get a Golden Globe nomination, which is great. I was a little bummed to see that he didn't get a SAG nomination, and I was bummed when I saw he didn't get an Oscar nomination. But I mean, the competition's fierce this year. There's a lot of great movies from what I've been told, and they look great. I mean, every single movie that I'm seeing that's nominated, I really want to watch. Uh, it's not like that every year. And it's tough, man. So I feel bad for The Rock, but you know, I still stand by that statement. I think he will. He has a lot of cool projects coming up that he's working on that are, Oscar bait. He's got the chops. He showed it in the Smashing Machine, and I think the industry responded very positively towards him for that, and I think it's going to open a lot of doors for him. And yeah, I stand by what I said.
We're in the middle of the NFL playoffs. This crazy, crazy season of the NFL. We're almost on the road to WrestleMania. We are weeks away from the Olympics. We're also in the middle of award season.
Yes.
Does the industry view award season as big as media makes it? Or is it just, oh, okay, it's that time of year. Time to put on a dress and lose some weight.
I feel like a lot of people have a front. Like I know B Todd, he felt a certain way about the Oscars. And you know what? I know he's not alone feeling that way. But I feel like I'm not saying B Todd's a liar, but I think there are definitely people that do say that and don't mean it. That like, oh, it's nothing. Oh, whatever. I don't care if I ever get an award. I feel like there are people that just don't mean it. Um, Again, I'm not saying B Todd's that person. He very well could mean it. I think it's a mixed bag. Like Timothy Chalamet, had the famous SAG Award speech. When he said he wants to be the GOAT. To win the awards. And he got some flack for that because some people don't come from that competitive world of sports, and that's okay. But like for me, I'm a sports fan. I've played sports. I am competitive, and I felt what he said, and I was like, I applauded him for it. I was like, thank you. Someone had the balls to say it, to shoot their shot, put it out there. And that's high pressure stakes for him because he put it out there for everyone to see. And now he's got to back up with those words. I think he's doing a good job in doing so that show that he's not just talk. For me, I'll say it. Yeah, my goal has always been to be the best. I do want to win an award one day for my craft. Especially amongst my peers, a SAG award would be fucking dope. That's when your peers, your fellow actors say you're worthy of this. To win an Oscar, man, that's always been the goal. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Because my goals has changed over time. But like, yeah, it's in the back of my head ever since I was a little kid. Yeah, that was the dream. Now, I mean, like honestly, it's gonna sound cheesy, but being a dad, to show my daughter to your dreams can come true. To that if you work hard, you're persistent, you keep on working at it, and you follow the path stubbornly, um, things can happen for you. To get paid doing what you love, man, that's the fucking dream. And I'm making a living from it. And I'm able to support my daughter because of it. I mean, like, that's cool. And I hope my daughter, um, she's inspired by that.
As one who inspires to aspire, I hope she is as well.
Ah, thank you, man.
I had a stupid question at the end, but we'll pass that. Let's end it on a high note. That's all the questions I have for you, my friend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Okay, making a host. Thanks for
Thanks for
having me.
taking over my show.
Yeah, I'm used to it. But thanks for having me, buddy. Thanks, appreciate it. Fun being here.
No, man, I do. I love having you on. You ask really good questions, man, and this is fun. And I hopefully, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, hopefully you're inspired by it, and hopefully you learn from it, and hopefully I see you on set one day.
Sounds good.
And Putty, hopefully I get to work with you, man. Hopefully I can see, what you bring to the table as an actor, my friend. This is exciting.
Ugh. I'm gonna need a lot of help, my friend. There's so many questions they're throwing at me. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but you know, baby steps.
Hey, if you ever need a reader, I'm your guy.
Thank you. We'll do.
Michael J. Putty, thank you for joining the show. Thank you for your questions. And thank you to everyone for tuning in, for listening, for subscribing, hopping along the journey of Beyond the Take podcast. We're in season 2 right now, and I hope you continue enjoying the ride. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want me to cover, please let me know. Follow me on Beyond the Take Pod on all forms of social media. And yeah, continue to like and subscribe. Love you guys. Thank you and cheers.